This girl, who had been living with her boyfriend in a rented apartment, broke up with him because she was constantly underfed. At that moment, she discovered that the cinema was actually giving out free tickets. She knew there was no such thing as a free lunch, yet the allure of something free was too irresistible. However, Samantha never expected that in the huge theater she would be the only audience member, and the projectionist even selected a prime seat just for her. It turned out this was a cinema that could peer into the depths of one's soul, and what was being shown was none other than a film about Samantha herself. So now we follow Samantha's perspective to see how the story unfolds. What she never expected was that the moment she appeared, she was chased wildly by something. As she ran frantically, she not only tripped over small stones but also collided head-on with a ghastly corpse. Because the body was so filthy, she couldn't break free right away. At this moment, the terrified girl also realized that the deranged figure had already caught up to her. But fortunately, her quick wit allowed her to hide behind a tree before she was spotted. Just as she was about to continue fleeing, Samantha was startled by the sudden appearance of her boyfriend.
Run!
So what kind of twisted killer exists in this forest? And will Samantha and Jason manage to escape? They were lucky enough to reach the road and even ran into a patrol car on duty. Even more coincidental, the officer Carter happened to be Jason's childhood classmate, someone he used to bully in elementary school. Jason thought Carter would use this chance to get revenge, but to his surprise, when Carter heard that a deranged figure was chasing them, he immediately let them into the police car. But at that very moment, the crazed pursuer had already arrived. Ignoring their pleas, Carter stepped forward to question him, and when the man refused to listen, Carter fired a warning shot. Carter could hardly believe it when the bullet had no effect, so he emptied his entire magazine before finally knocking the attacker to the ground.
No, what kind of a sick shot!
Samantha and Jason watched in disbelief at such a shocking scene. In order to escape this nightmare, Jason went to look for the car keys, but the attacker regained consciousness, forcing the terrified Samantha and Jason to flee back to the forest cabin where they had camped. Unfortunately, the car that could have been their escape tool was destroyed. Fortunately, their classmate Mike inside the cabin was still safe and sound. It was then that Samantha remembered the blood on her body belonged to classmates who had been brutally murdered by the deranged figure. Her strange and frantic behavior left Mike confused, and then, in the next moment,
I think he broke my rib!
Jason couldn't believe why this madman was so obsessed with hunting them down. After locking the door, Jason grabbed a shotgun, ready to end the man once and for all. But to Jason's shock, Mike declared that he wanted to teach the lunatic a lesson himself. Yet before he could act, the door burst open and an iron rod pierced straight through his chest. With nowhere left to run, Jason was forced to confront the man, but the enemy's strength was overwhelming and Jason was no match. Seeing her boyfriend losing the fight, Samantha's terror reached its peak, but she suddenly noticed a hidden compartment under the carpet. On the other side, Jason was beaten into submission. At the same time, Samantha managed to enter the hidden cellar, but when she turned on the light, she saw the most horrifying sight of her life. In the cramped basement, there were 3 burned and brutally killed corpses. Back upstairs, Jason thought he had the upper hand, but he soon realized the killer was immune to weapons, and to his shock, he was stabbed in return. Even when Jason tried to strike back with a small knife, he was overpowered, his hands nailed firmly to the wall. The deranged man then set Jason on fire. Hearing her boyfriend's screams, Samantha's grief turned to fury. She wrapped chains around her arm, grabbed an axe, and prepared to fight. At that moment, with her rage at its peak, Samantha drove the killer onto the defensive, but her stamina quickly failed, and she was captured. Just when all seemed lost, Samantha regained the upper hand, and the true face of the killer was finally revealed. But to her absolute shock, this person actually knew her. Fred not only told her that they were neighbors from the same village, but that they had grown up together as close friends.
You were the princess? I was your servant. I would carry stuff for you.
It turned out that just a day earlier, they had come camping here with their classmates. About to meet the girl of his dreams, Fred had been overwhelmed with excitement. He had hoped a short camping trip would spark a long-lasting romance, but to his disappointment, the girl already had a boyfriend, and they even showed affection right in front of him. Just as everyone was enjoying the fun of camping, a strange object suddenly fell from the sky, disrupting the peaceful moment. Driven by curiosity, the students decided to investigate, but to their shock, the object transformed into countless tiny spiders, each of them crawling into the mouths of the classmates. Soon, their bodies were taken over by alien spiders. Only Fred realized something was wrong and fled. But no matter how he ran, the spiders seemed guided by an alien force and pursued him relentlessly. Luckily, at the most dangerous moment, Fred managed to hide in the cabin. But to his horror, the spiders could squeeze through the narrow gaps in the door. Just as a spider lunged at him, a welding helmet happened to cover his face, blocking the spider's attack. Immediately, he used a hammer to crush the spider, determined to save his infected classmates. Fred armed himself completely. He began eliminating those controlled by alien spiders, knowing that only burning the bodies could destroy the infection completely. He believed he had to act before these creatures spread into the city, for the safety of humanity. Samantha, still holding on to a fragment of her human will, tried to resist the control, but her mind had already been mostly consumed by the spiders. So she used her last bit of consciousness to beg Fred to end her suffering. Though he destroyed all the infected, he also lost the person he loved most and his closest friends. Fred's grief reached its peak, but he never expected that just as he prepared to leave, he would witness a terrifying sight. After a night of slaughter, Fred seemed unharmed as he walked out of the cabin and drove away from the nightmare. But had he really wiped out all the alien spiders? The truth was, Fred had already been taken over, and the great city ahead was about to become the first infected metropolis. Because they had been living in a spacious and spotless villa for a long time, the couple in love had lost their former passion, so they simply went out into the streets to deepen their relationship, only to unexpectedly discover a free cinema. They immediately entered the screening hall to continue sharing their love, but they discovered that the theater was showing a terrifying love story about themselves. It turned out that Anna, due to an accident in her childhood, was left with scars on her face. Compared with tall beauties with tight and fair skin, she not only appeared unattractive, but these hateful scars had also troubled her for more than 20 years. What was even more important was that her boyfriend David was handsome, wealthy, and successful, and they were about to walk into marriage together. But fortunately, David not only did not despise her, he even said her face suited his taste, and he advised her not to dwell too much on her appearance. But Anna felt that something so obvious existed. Even if she did not care, others would still gossip. Then David said that his mother knew a very good plastic surgeon. When Anna realized that David had told his mother about the scars on her face, she felt very embarrassed. So he explained that it was because his mother had undergone plastic surgery before, so she was familiar with these things. But Anna wondered, since her boyfriend was so handsome, and his mother must be very beautiful, why would she need surgery? But David explained that after the surgery, his mother became not only more beautiful, but also full of confidence. He then said that life is short. People should be brave enough to try things they have never done. And if his girlfriend was willing to change herself, he would cover all the costs. Hearing David say this and feeling a little moved, Anna immediately went to the hospital the next day. After examining her face, Dr. Lanier said this was his specialty. But Anna did not hope to become stunningly beautiful. She only wanted to remove these ugly scars because she was about to marry her boyfriend, and she thought it was enough to have a face suitable for photos. So Dr. Lanier joked that he had heard such words many times. Every person who came for surgery said the same thing, but in their hearts they all wanted to become the most beautiful. Then Dr. Lanier asked the girl if she had met her future mother-in-law, because he said that the older woman's surgery was one of his proudest works. And Dr. Lanier even suggested that since Anna would undergo general anesthesia anyway, he could also adjust other parts of her body to perfection. In order to fulfill Anna's wish to become beautiful as soon as possible, he would begin the surgery the next day. To reassure Anna, Dr. Lanier said they offered a complete set of pre- and post-operative services. But Anna felt very strange, as she had only wanted to repair a scar, yet now her whole body would be altered. Was that really appropriate? When he learned that she was worried about friends and outsiders talking behind her back, Dr. Lanier said that after she completely changed, she would not only escape the trouble of mirrors, but her unique beauty would also make her boyfriend's family adore her even more. Hearing Dr. Lanier's words that sounded so grandiose, Anna felt secretly delighted. At that moment, her desire to become beautiful reached its peak, but she never expected that what followed would be the beginning of her nightmare. As soon as the drugs began to take effect, Dr. Lanier immediately started the surgery. While under deep anesthesia, Anna entered the wedding hall she had longed for. With no scars troubling her, Anna felt extremely confident. But to her shock, the groom's family who came to greet her turned into smiling yet frightening plastic surgeons. She could not believe it. Was this a dream or a true premonition? Awakening in fear, she saw that David had come to visit her. Even more touching, her boyfriend said that, to encourage her for such a big sacrifice, when she was discharged he would buy her a car she liked. He also said his mother had given them a seaside villa as their wedding house. Overwhelmed with excitement, and with the anesthesia not fully gone, Anna fell asleep again. But strangely, David was at that moment frantically taking pictures with his phone, sending them all to his mother for approval, and secretly arranging Anna's next surgery projects with a mysterious person. The odd behavior of David and Dr. Lanier made the waking Anna very curious, and Dr. Lanier even said that since the girl's body was weaker, he suggested finishing all the remaining procedures in one operation the next day. But when Anna told him about her terrifying dream, Dr. Lanier dismissed it as only her subconscious, and even said that when he had plastic surgery himself, he had dreamed of God.
And no worrying. Promise?
When she tried to make a phone call, she discovered the telephone was just a decoration. And when she asked the assistant, the reply was that only after tomorrow's surgery could she make calls. Even more shocking, she found that she could not use the mirror either. All these strange occurrences and the stabbing pain made her feel something was terribly wrong. So she tore out the IV tube and sneaked out at night to investigate. After confirming the assistant had left, she went to check her own files and discovered that her boyfriend had approved the next procedures without her consent. At that moment, Nurse Simone returned, so she had no choice but to go back to her room. But the exits were all locked, and she heard painful wails coming from the next room. The horrible and piercing cries aroused her curiosity, so she went to check and found a terrifying sight. Someone who had failed surgery was discarded like waste in a storage room. At that moment, Anna's fear reached its peak, and Simone came back and discovered her behavior. Acting first, Anna smashed Simone with a glass bottle. She wanted to take Simone's keycard and escape, but Simone regained consciousness, so Anna had to strangle her unconscious again. Then she saw the horrifying mural of human modifications on the wall. As she stepped out of the elevator, Dr. Lanier arrived and forcibly injected her with a sedative. At that moment, terrified, she realized that the scenes were almost the same as in her dream.
Just relax. Everything's going to be fine. More anesthesia, nurse.
The next morning, Anna woke to find her boyfriend beside her, and she immediately questioned him why he lied to her and secretly added so many procedures without her consent. But David only brushed it off, telling her to calm down, and said his mother had also come to see her. To her disbelief, she realized she had become a complete deformity, even with 3 breasts. It turned out that David's family had a twisted aesthetic, and the scar Anna hated was actually the key to his love. To make his girlfriend more beautiful, he and his mother had planned this so-called perfect transformation. To them, Anna's distorted face was the face of a peerless beauty. Back outside the film, Anna was full of panic, and her boyfriend was nowhere to be found. So she went straight to the projection room to confront the man. But the man ignored her questions and used his mind to shut the door. It turned out this man was an ancient nightmare maker, and by handing out free movie tickets to lure viewers, he harvested the fearful souls within their hearts, which was what he enjoyed the most.
What from me?
You might call me a death collector. I would love watching yours.
Because of the ongoing economic downturn, the business of the monastery also declined sharply. So, finding himself in trouble, Father Benedict decided to secretly look for some entertainment late at night to relieve his stress, but he happened to come across a free cinema. Seeing that the main character of the film had the same name as himself, he stepped inside. However, the huge theater was not only completely empty, but there was also a large pool of fresh, dark red liquid on the carpet. Just as Benedict was wondering what kind of terrifying event had happened here, his curiosity was interrupted by the sudden appearance of the projectionist.
Welcome to my nightmare.
The once lively and cheerful boy Peter was suddenly standing on the church roof, and in a strange posture he was preparing to end himself. Realizing the danger, Sister Patricia rushed to save the boy, but she never expected that Peter's body had already been taken over by a demon. But fortunately, under Patricia's gentle persuasion, Peter's true personality took the upper hand. Just as Peter was about to be rescued, the demon once again seized control of his body. Such a terrifying scene left the innocent children deeply traumatized. The timid Danny was too afraid to fall asleep, so the kind Cindy comforted her like a mother and finally lulled her into dreamland. But when she returned to her room, she was startled into a cold sweat by a falling crucifix. And at that very moment, a powerful crashing sound came from outside the house. When she went to check, she found nothing unusual, Yet as she turned around, a strong gust of eerie wind made her tremble. But the hallway behind her clearly had no living being at all. Such supernatural phenomena made her very puzzled. Meanwhile, the priest was deepening his relationship with the nun when a horrifying wail suddenly echoed through the corridor and interrupted them. The nun worried that the suicide incident would affect the children's mental health, but the priest said that in fact, children were very resilient, and their ability to withstand fear was the highest. They wanted to continue their emotional exchange, but an urgent knock on the door interrupted them again. At this moment, Benedict's anger reached its peak, yet when they went out to check, they found no prankster. But what happened next made their fears skyrocket. The once spotless statue had been maliciously splashed with black and red tomato juice, and beside it the staircase was marked with a red liquid trail. Even more horrifying, at the bottom of the stairs there was a terrifying gaping mouth. The next day, while a little girl was praying, she was bullied by mischievous classmates. And because of her tolerance, they bullied her even more. But strangely, with just a gentle push, the mischievous classmate behind her was thrown far away, and the injured student saw a terrifying demon. That night, the little girl in bed had blood flowing from her eyes, her gaze completely blank. Soon after, all the female students turned into this terrifying state. These bizarre events made Sister Patricia feel that this place had been targeted by a demon, so she immediately searched for detailed records of it.
Mashit, an infernal entity in charge of punishing those who commit lust and incest. Its mission is torturing children and leading them to suicide.
But when she told the priest that their reckless behavior had invited the demon, Benedict was puzzled why the demon did not come for him, but instead controlled the children. Patricia was also confused, but the most dangerous thing now was the children's situation. But they never expected that at this moment the room began to flicker, and the dead Peter appeared in front of them in a deformed state. This demon not only knew them, but also teased the nun. Such disgusting behavior pushed Benedict's anger to the peak, so he immediately took up the cross and in the voice of God helped the boy regain his consciousness. Then Peter revealed to them that the demon had possessed Danny. Though they had doubts, for safety, they still called Danny over. But their strange and mysterious actions made Danny very curious. Seeing Danny's body show no reaction, Benedict tried to force the demon to reveal itself with the cross. Fortunately, Cindy appeared in time and stopped their foolish act. At this point, they were also puzzled. Could it be that the demon had not possessed Danny after all? In fact, the demon had long since taken over Cindy. Meanwhile, Sister Patricia suddenly realized that Danny was not the source. At this moment, the demon completely revealed its true form. Then the demon used dark words to control the souls of all the children. At that moment, the children became soulless puppets, and the uncontrollable little girl was also cruelly killed. Peter and Benedict's fear reached its highest point, but luckily they managed to escape to the church. However, the children controlled by the demon soon followed. These children not only wore smiles but also held weapons in their hands. With no escape, they could only pick up weapons and prepare to fight. At first, they did not want to harm the children's bodies, but fighting with restraint put them at a great disadvantage. The demon not only forced the nun to kill, but also lured her into a mysterious place. Meanwhile, faced with the crazed attacks of the puppets, the priest could barely hold on, so in his fury he resisted with full strength. At this moment, Cindy, possessed by the demon, tried to end herself to break free. Patricia wanted to save Cindy from her pain, but she fell right into the demon's trap. On the other side, Father Benedict also entered a full moment of slaughter, yet in the end, the children controlled by the demon killed him. Meanwhile, Patricia and Cindy fell together, but thanks to Cindy's buffer, Patricia was unharmed. But was everything really as it seemed? It was not. It turned out that at the moment of the fall, the demon had already transferred into Patricia, and on both sides, the puppet warriors were welcoming the demon who had returned in victory. Outside the film, the priest's terrified soul had ripened, and the dark projectionist quickly harvested this soul and waited for the next victim of fear. Because Helen suffered from severe depression and had lost hope in this world, she wanted to end her life, but unexpectedly discovered a film that belonged only to her. The once bright and dazzling world appeared in her eyes as nothing but monotonous black and white. When she came to the hospital for an examination, she also found that the receptionist at the front desk was completely ignoring her. After asking several times, she finally learned that the doctor had not yet arrived for work. So helpless, she had no choice but to keep waiting. When Eric learned that the receptionist had even made his mother wait, he became very angry because an hour earlier she had given the same excuse, and Chris beside him said that he was starving. Such a long delay also made Helen feel very uncomfortable. She wanted to urge them again, but the receptionist only told her to keep waiting patiently. And at that very moment, the receptionist was even leisurely changing into her work clothes. Most importantly, everything around her in her eyes had become uglier and filthier. Such terrifying visuals made Helen feel unwell, so she wanted to cancel the consultation fee, but the receptionist refused her on the grounds that the system had already closed. And the receptionist felt that since Helen had previously said she was in a hurry, she had reluctantly arranged the appointment for her, and now it could not be canceled so easily.
Mom, I gotta take a shit.
At first, Eric said he could go with his younger brother, but Helen, who had extremely low security, insisted on accompanying them. But then, the receptionist said that the doctor had arrived and asked Helen to go in immediately, so she had to let her 2 sons wait outside. But she never expected that what followed would be the beginning of her nightmare. What puzzled her was that in her eyes the doctor actually looked normal. When he heard Helen describe her illness as fear of the things around her, Dr. Salvador, who had never seen such a case before, asked what exactly she was afraid of. It turned out that since she had woken up yesterday, the world she saw had become gray. As her mood changed, the surrounding environment would rapidly deteriorate, and the people she met would also turn into terrifying monsters as her fear grew. So Dr. Salvador asked Helen if she had told her husband about these abnormalities, but she said her husband had already left her 2 days earlier. She was confused why the doctor asked about her family. It turned out that, apart from her own children, most of the people Helen saw looked ugly to her. She then explained that after her children discovered she had secretly hidden something, they suddenly became very mature and strongly demanded she come for treatment.
And do you consider yourself suicidal?
What is it?
Your colleagues are waiting.
Thank you.
Seeing Helen's abnormal state, and with a colleague calling to remind him about a meeting, Dr. Salvador told her to come back tomorrow for consultation and quickly dismissed her. Helen was furious. Why did he not tell her what illness she had? What frightened her even more was that when she came out, her 2 sons were nowhere to be found. The front desk was empty, so she hurried to catch the receptionist who was going home to ask about her son's whereabouts. But to her horror, the receptionist had transformed into a deformed figure, not only looking grotesque but also replying in a demonic tone that she had never seen her sons. She then heard the sound of running water from the restroom, thinking her sons were inside, but it was only a janitor washing his mop. Even though the place looked terrifying, she still braved herself to ask if he had seen her sons, but he ignored her stern questioning and continued working. No matter how many times she asked, he acted as if he could not understand her words, so in anger, she drew a gun to force an answer. Strangely, the man was not afraid of her threat at all and completely ignored her, and at that moment, her handgun suddenly turned into a toy gun. Helpless, she had to go elsewhere to continue searching for her sons. But to her shock, everyone she asked said they had never seen them. At this point, Helen's fear reached its peak. She wanted to call her husband for help, but his reply made her even more desperate. Her strange state also drew the curiosity of a janitor nearby. In despair, Helen even thought of ending her life, but her bizarre actions only left the janitor utterly confused. But unexpectedly, a ray of hope appeared. She suddenly heard her son's voices coming from the doctor's office. What was strange was how she could hear such a distant conversation. But to her shock, Dr. Salvador was actually discussing her illness with the children, and the conversation that followed completely shattered her world. It turned out that they had originally wanted Helen to take poison, but then felt she needed a faster way, so they put a handgun with only 1 bullet in her bag. At that moment, they even expressed some pity for Helen and thought that falling from a high place could be passed off as an accident. But the doctor said this was Helen's own fate, and they should not sympathize but instead focus on their work and strive for promotion. Yet they argued that since Helen mistook them for her sons and still knew how to protect children, it showed that she might still have hope. But the doctor insisted that his diagnosis had confirmed Helen was beyond saving. He believed Helen's mental state was extremely dangerous and said her hallucinations of sight and sound were rapidly worsening, and that letting her end her life was also to protect innocent people from harm.
Well, where is she now?
Right outside the door in the hallway, listening.
Shit!
Helen's extreme behavior only confirmed Dr. Salvador's judgment. At this moment, her mental state had reached an extreme. She not only mistook Dr. Salvador's colleagues for her sons, she even forced them to leave the hospital with her and go home. In her eyes now, the world had already turned into a ruined and apocalyptic landscape. And at that moment, outside of the film, Helen's terrified soul had fully ripened, and her life was destined to end completely in the nightmare. This is a cinema that can predict how the viewer will die. And today, the protagonist of the film is Riley, who is praised as a little piano prodigy. Because of Riley's outstanding piano performance, not only were the guests amazed, but his mother was also very proud. And the appearance of his father, Jared, made Riley's performance warm and perfect. Jared also praised his son, saying that he would definitely become a great pianist in the future. To his surprise, the arrangement was also composed by his son himself, but they never expected that a ruthless killer was hiding in the car.
Get out of the car! Whoa, what?
Seeing how vicious he was, in order to prevent him from harming the child, they could only obey. They wanted to give up their money to protect their family's safety, but the killer seemed determined to end their lives. At this moment, when Jared saw the man relax his guard, he tried to subdue him, but he was no match for the killer and was shot in the head. Seeing this, Charity rushed to grab the killer's gun to give her son a chance to escape. At that moment, the enraged killer shot Charity dead. The once happy family of 3 was dragged into a nightmare of terror by the killer, and Riley's fate also seemed grim. But fortunately, Riley was rescued in the emergency room. In his daze, he even saw his mother. He thought his mother had not died, so he asked the doctor who came to treat him. But the doctor did not answer Riley and only told him to rest. That night, Riley suddenly discovered a strange patient beside him. Soon the man left the ward. So full of curiosity, Riley followed to take a look. When he saw the man trying to leave, he wanted to talk to him, but was interrupted by the sudden appearance of a nurse. And at this moment, the strange man was nowhere to be seen. The nurse, however, believed that the medicine was causing Riley to hallucinate and told him to go back to bed. And the girl nearby also became interested in Riley's strange behavior. Back in the ward, Riley suddenly found that the man had somehow returned to his bed. Late at night, in a daze, he was awakened by the sudden appearance of his mother.
I thought he killed you.
I'm right here, sweetheart.
It hurts, Mom.
But it doesn't have to.
It turned out that Charity had already become a ghost, and she came only to persuade her son to give up the troubled human life and join a carefree life as a spirit. But fortunately, the appearance of the nurse interrupted Riley's thought of giving up his life. Because Riley's condition had stabilized, he was transferred to a regular ward. The nurse also said that he was truly lucky, not only brought to the hospital in time, but even after his heart stopped for 17 minutes, he miraculously came back. She believed that God must love this smart little genius. At that moment, Riley suddenly realized that his parents had indeed died. But to his shock, a severely injured couple suddenly appeared ahead of him, and they passed straight through everything like phantoms. At this moment, his fear surged to the extreme. When Helen learned that Riley had survived, he immediately came to silence him. He then tried to test if Riley was awake, but was interrupted by the sudden arrival of the nurse. When the nurse asked, Jenkins pretended to be Riley's relative coming to visit, but the nurse said that only immediate family could visit at night, and the patient needed rest, and told him to come back the next day. That night, Riley, while asleep, heard continuous growling outside his room, and curious, he went out to check, only to witness a terrifying scene, countless wandering spirits drifting in the corridor.
You see them too, don't you? The dead guys.
You can see them?
Oh yeah.
It turned out that because they had gone through a brief near-death experience, they now had the ability to see ghosts. Casey believed that those few minutes of death gave them the ability to talk with spirits, and she thought that the ghosts did not know they were already dead, which was why they kept wandering the world. When Riley insisted that his ghostly mother was still alive, Casey told him to rest well, and as he wished, his mother was summoned. Charity wanted Riley to continue giving up his life, but he thought if his mother had already died, why was she lying to make him join the underworld? But Charity believed that only after her son died could the whole family truly be reunited. So she added more temptation and tried to persuade him. But suddenly Casey appeared and interrupted her illusion. She could not believe Riley's mother would deceive him like this, and she urged him to cherish his life and stay away from his ghostly mother. At that moment, a nurse delivering food not only scolded Casey and told her to return to her room, but also told Riley not to pay attention to the crazy girl. Casey never expected that her kind warning would bring the ghostly woman's revenge. Her heartbreaking screams made Riley feel uneasy. Because Casey had a tendency towards self-destruction, the doctors concluded that she had ended herself. But Riley never expected that his own life was also in danger. It turned out that Jenkins, because Riley had seen his face, was eager to kill him. But the clever Riley caught him off guard with a fatal strike and managed to knock him down and escape. He wanted to ask the nurse on duty for help, but to his shock, the nurse had already lost her life, so he had no choice but to hide in the autopsy room. At that moment, despite his fear, he had to hide inside the corpse locker where Casey lay. Luckily, such a horrifying place also scared Jenkins, so he only checked briefly and quickly left. The bloody room made Riley's fear soar, and as Jenkins continued searching room by room, Riley escaped to the sterilization room to avoid him. But in the end, he was still discovered by Jenkins. At this moment, Jenkins only wanted to end Riley quickly, and just as Riley was about to die, he saw the call of his mother. This weakened his will. Fortunately, Casey's ghost rushed in and persuaded Riley to live, which reignited his determination, and he grabbed a wooden stick and pierced Jenkins's throat. In the morning, the police officers and doctors also found Riley on the verge of death, and they could hardly believe that such a small child had actually killed a burly criminal. Afterwards, he not only saw the ghost of Casey who had helped him, but also saw his parents, who no longer demanded that he join them. Outside the film, Riley could not believe what he had seen. But what came next completely triggered his terrified soul. At this moment, the nightmare projectionist arrived, and the sight of the soulless bodies of those already harvested made Riley's fear reach its peak, so he begged the projectionist to let him go. But the projectionist said that he could never escape the future foretold. No one could ever escape their own nightmare, and Riley's terrifying film would forever be sealed in this place. At this moment, countless reels of souls had already been stored here.